Today we're going to talk about 10 reasons you might not want to move to Bothell, Washington. Now, I know this is a shocker because, as you guys know if you've been watching this channel, I am a huge fan of Bothell, Washington. However, it's not for everybody, and I want to be really honest and upfront about that. If you are exploring different neighborhoods in the Seattle area and you think Bothell might be for you, let's try to get a heads up on why it might not, so that you can see, like, if these are deal breakers, then you can look elsewhere before it's too late. Number one is the high cost of living in Bothell. Now, high cost of living is relative into the Seattle area because it has just been exploding. It seems like for the past 40 years, we've been in sort of this feeling like it's a seller's market and prices keep going up and there's extreme appreciation, and that's just certainly accelerated over the last couple of years here. And Bothell is really one of those target neighborhoods that has become very expensive very quickly. I remember selling a home in Bothell last year, and it was December, and it was an estate sale. It was a beautiful home, but it could have used new paint and carpet and that type of a thing. So we priced it reasonably based on comps. We priced it reasonably, and it was during that time when houses were getting multiple offers, which they are again, by the way, I will add. And we almost had traffic accidents. People were lined up around the block to get into this home, and it just sold. It escalated. I was negotiating different people back and forth against each other. And so Bothell has just been one of those areas that's very popular. A couple reasons being its proximity to both Seattle and Bellevue, and its excellent schools. A lot of people who like the idea of commuting into Bellevue or living in Bellevue and can't afford it are having to stretch where they're looking, either north into Bothell or south into Renton, to find a more affordable option that's still kind of within driving distance of Bellevue and does not involve living in downtown Seattle where the bridges are going across. So that leads them to Bothell, and that area just seems to have taken off. But like I mentioned at the outset, it's not all sunshine and butterflies. So let's go into some of the reasons why that might not be. So as you can see from this chart, in April of 2022, when the market peaked, the median home price in Bothell was $1.1 million. That rapidly fell off in the face of increasing interest rates over the second half of the year. And now we're starting to see it go back up again. It's around the $900,000 mark. While that was unfortunate for people who bought at the peak, a lot of these folks have great interest rates locked in. And now, these folks can buy at a little bit better price. So it's not as difficult to deal with as it once was. Let's drill down into this a little bit more. We can see that residential, this is primarily like single family homes, and some townhomes are in this category. We can see that the median home price is above $1 million. For condos, we can see that the median home price is around 6.29. And for new construction, which we're seeing a lot of as well, we're seeing the median price as 1.1. So essentially what we're seeing here is that this is a neighborhood full of $1 million homes. There are ways to get in for under $1 million, but that's primarily going to be through condo or townhome purchases. Next, I want to talk about the schools. So Bothell is known for the North Shore School District, which is supposed to be pretty consistently high quality. This is a screen capture from greatschools.org showing you that it's good, but not great. So here, where the black pin is the center of Bothell. Bothell actually spans two counties. It's in the King County area in the south and the Snohomish County area in the north. And we see that this is slightly higher than what we were looking at if we looked at Shoreline or Linwood, but we're still not pegging the top of the charts. They're great schools. The 9s and the 10s are down here closer to the Bellevue area, but we're still getting 7s and 8s. Here's a 9 hiding back here, and some 6s mixed in. So it's strongly above average. I would give this pretty much a A- or an A. But just so you know, it's not perfect when it comes to the schools. And what people are saying now is that the schools are having a lot of difficulty with crowding. There's so much new construction in the area. So many people have decided to move to Bothell that the schools are really struggling to increase the capacity that they have to take in all of these new students who are here specifically to take advantage of that wonderful education. Now let's take a look at the map again, and Bothell is widely touted as having good commuter access. And I will say that being on 405, it does have great access to Bellevue. Now I drive back and forth between about here in Lake Forest Park and here in Bothell every morning driving my kids to school. And this stretch takes me about 20 minutes. So if you are trying to get into the Seattle area, it's not a great commute, especially during rush hour. It could take probably half an hour to get over to I-5 here, and then another half hour to get into the city. So that would be 60 minutes going that way. You can go down here 405. It's going to be crowded. There is a pay-as-you-go pass that allows you to pay a toll via like a scanner in your car that you can decide to drive in the faster lanes that are tolled, or you can drive in the free lanes depending on how much of a rush you're in to get to work. So there is toll access to make this a faster commute and toll access to go across this bridge. This bridge, I-90, is free, but you're going to have to stay on 405 longer, and then you're coming into the south end of Seattle. So if you were trying to get up here somewhere north of that, you're giving yourself some extra distance to go. So I would say good access to Bellevue, reasonable access to Seattle. You can certainly do both, but it's not a short drive into downtown Seattle for your job. Next, I'm going to say there's not a ton of things to do here in the Bothell area. Bothell is primarily a residential neighborhood that's just grown and expanded its municipality. But when it comes to nightlife, shopping, there are a lot of grocery stores and what I would call like strip shopping centers where it's just low level. You know, you've got your insurance, your haircut guy, your nail guy, your bank, your gas station, your grocery store, those types of things. But there's not a lot of exciting things to do. There's not a lot of clothing shopping. Typically, if you're wanting that, you're going to go up here to Alderwood Mall or down to Bellevue Square down here. A lot of the shopping in Seattle has gotten eaten away. So Northgate Shopping Mall, oldest indoor shopping mall in America from the 1960s, gone. That's being gutted. It's being remodeled. It may be wonderful later, but that's gone. And a lot of the downtown shopping, like the Macy's downtown that used to sponsor our Thanksgiving Day parade, is now closed its doors, and just the whole downtown vibe has gotten very difficult for people to get in there, to pay for parking. Traffic is bad. It's a challenge for people not living downtown to get and stay downtown. So in this area, you're going to find a lot of parks and a lot of small mom and pop eateries. The whole area here, known as Bothell Landing, is kind of the downtown core of Bothell. So they have like this Riverside Park with a pop-up dog park and a walking trail. That's the extension of the Burt Gilman Trail in this area. They have the University of Washington Bothell campus, which has dorms and like a little shopping center with, you know, some food places and a Starbucks, but really not a lot to do here in Bothell in terms of entertainment. I would say the best you can hope for is to come park down here at Bothell Landing, walk around, get a salad, get an ice cream, get a coffee, get your hair done, do some window shopping, or go in and, you know, test drive an electric bike or something. There's just not a huge vital nightlife. There is color in the Christmas time, however. I will let you know that my church and I went caroling in downtown Bothell. It was a beautiful snowy day. It was getting dark. We caroled for about an hour. We had a little booth out for hot chocolate and cookies. No one stopped. It was a little bit sad, but we had a great time. I think the snow and the darkness were probably keeping people in, but I've seen similar things like the high school doing band concert and orchestra concert in a little toy store down in Kenmore. So they are doing things to try to promote community here, but it's a newer area. There are a lot of apartments that have just been built. Things are still under construction, and I'm hopeful that we will see an evolution toward more community, because the Bothell neighborhood has had, you know, wonderful 4th of July parade in the past, historical reenactments with, acting out the Concord and Lexington Green, shot heard round the world and everything like that. So there is potential, I think, for a lot of community in Bothell, but it's having to redevelop after all of the construction that's been going on in this area. It is turning into a cool place though. And if you didn't know, there's a pool here called McMinimans. That's an outdoor pool in the summer, and people with a Bothell driver's license can swim there for free. So they have kind of bars and taverns, and what they do is they take old buildings and repurpose them. So they've repurposed this into a swimming and eating place. And so I'm sure the hope is that if you swim there for free, that you would buy some snacks or something to eat, maybe for lunch, just getting people into the facility. So check that out when you're in Bothell as well. Now, as you probably know, the Seattle weather is not great. The Bothell weather is not great. I find it to be cloudy. It's somewhat mild, I would say, because we're by the water. Anytime we're close to Lake Washington, we're not going to get as much snow as we do, say, in some of the taller hills in Seattle or up in the foothills of the Cascades. So the water does have a moderating effect, and while it can be warm in the summer and cool in the winter, it's not as extreme as some places, but neither is it especially sunny. So that's not necessarily a differentiator between Bothell and other parts of town. But if you're deciding whether you want to live in the Seattle area at all, then it's certainly something to keep in mind that Bothell isn't perfect, especially when it comes to the weather. Next, I'll say there are very limited job opportunities in Bothell itself. Although we might think of Bothell as a town, it's certainly a municipality. There aren't a lot of jobs. There are no skyscrapers here. We're going to find maybe 3-story office with a dentist and an accountant, a physical therapist. So if you are a professional service provider and you depend on neighborhood business, that is certainly something that you could find a space for in Bothell. But if you have an office job, if you're going to work in tech or IT or a big law firm or that type of thing, chances are you're going to be commuting into one of the big cities, Seattle being the largest, Bellevue being up and coming and certainly more desirable at this point in time. And you also have a decent commute up to Everett. So sometimes we'll find people in this area where one or more of the spouses is working at Boeing up in Everett or something that's a major employer up there, but they don't want to live in Everett. So they may live here, take advantage of all of the amenities and the schools in this area, and then do that 20 to 30 minute drive up to Everett in the morning. And it's a reverse commute, meaning most of the people are coming south into the city. So if you're going north, you're going against traffic, you will have a relatively easier time getting through that drive. Okay, now let's talk about public transportation. The name of the game in Bothell is the bus. So we actually have really good busing access to the University of Washington Bothell campus. So if you're anywhere near there, you're going to have a good time getting on a bus and taking it up and down 405, no problem. Getting over to the Seattle side, like I mentioned earlier, is a little bit more of a challenge. And while you might hear a lot of new and exciting things about the light rail coming to town, that's not something that's going to benefit Bothell directly for quite a long time, if at all. One of the questions that I always like to think about when we're discussing these urban suburban neighborhoods is, what does crime look like? So if we check on niche.com, we can see that Bothell only gets a C+ in terms of safety, which is actually not outside of the norm of what we see of a lot of these areas, but it's not ideal, certainly. And of the crimes over here, we have the violent crimes listed, and Bothell is well below the national average in most of those categories. And it's also below the national average in terms of property crimes, but I would say it's edging close in motor vehicle theft. So a lot of what I see and hear about in terms of crimes is things like car prowls, car break-ins, especially if you don't park your car in your garage. A lot of people here, because space is at a premium, maybe they had to buy a smaller house than they would have wished, find that they're storing a lot of things in their garage and the climate is mild, so it's just as easy to park the car in the driveway. And that can set you up for having people come by and take a look at what's in your car and even, break a window to get at something that might just be a diaper bag or something, but they thought it was a computer bag. You never know. Especially in, again, some of these suburban areas where we're out maybe in the woods or by a green belt and things are a little bit more secluded, it's just better not to tempt fate by leaving things out. We also hear about package theft, like, people following the Amazon truck around, and when they drop something off at your front gate, then, the other people come and pick it up. So that can be a problem and has been a problem in the past. Here in Lake Forest Park, which is not nearby, the biggest problem we seem to be encountering on a regular basis is mail theft. So having things stolen out of our mailbox. That has now happened to me, I'm sorry to say, but I've seen it happen to a lot of other people in the area as well. So that might be something that you could ward off by either picking up your mail daily so that, when people come in the night, there's nothing in the box for them to steal, or considering using a P.O. box if you tend to not pick up your mail on a regular basis. Now, here's an example of a $1.4 million home in the Bothell area, and I'm just bringing this up to give you an idea of how far your money will go. So this is above the median. Remember, we looked at prices and we looked at 1.1 being about the median home price for the area, and that will probably get you a 2,200 square foot home, 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, a nice home that would be typical. If it looks like this, it's probably going to be a little bit above average in most of the neighborhoods in Seattle, because this home has a 3-car garage, it has nice landscaping, it has a nice uniform neighborhood, and it has a decently sized lot. This is what a lot of people are looking for, but not everyone can afford it. And I find that the higher you go in your price bracket, you get increasingly more for your money, because you're leaving behind all of the competition that's scrabbling for just the best thing that they can afford. So if you can get out ahead of them, you'll have more options, and going above that median price point tends to put you in that position. But as you look at home pricing, remember to take a look at the property taxes and homeowners association fees. We don't have that many homeowners association protected neighborhoods. When we do, they tend to have low fees, maybe $50 a month for the sign and a block party in August or something like that. There's not a lot that they do other than keep people to the rules and avoid a lot of the problems that we see in more unprotected areas where people are doing weird things with their yard, cars in the yard. And the problem is that a lot of times the home that you're paying $1 million+ for is next to a home where someone's lived there for 30 years and they actually don't have a lot of money to maintain and do like landscaping, and they've just built up junk over time. And so having a protection of an HOA can help ensure that you don't have strange things going on in your neighborhood either now or in the future when it comes to the performance of the neighbors. And I would usually expect property taxes are a little bit less than 1% of the value of the home. So if you had $1 million home, you might expect to pay about $10,000 a year in property taxes. So a $1.5 million home, you might expect to pay around $15,000 a year in property taxes. That's just a rule of thumb, but taxes here are certainly an expense and something to consider when you are taking a look at the size of the property that you want to buy. The other bad thing I would say is that we are just crammed in on these really tight, small lots. You can see that this lot looks very nice. It's about 9,000 square feet. So 5,000 to 10,000 square feet is a pretty typical size for a suburban lot for us. If you want something larger, like a 1/4 of an acre, a 1/2 an acre, a 1 acre, not only is it going to be hard to find, but it's going to be expensive as well, or out in the boonies away from town. So I hope this video gives you an idea of some of the downsides of living in Bothell, as well as all of the wonderful features and some of the reasons that I like it accidentally slipped in there. But it's not a great destination. It's not where a lot of people come for a good time. It doesn't have a lot of museums and nightlife and fun things to do. It's going in that direction, especially near the Bothell landing, but it's such a big area that a lot of it has a more rural or old houses type of feel, and those old houses are quickly being bought up and rebuilt into developments that are then selling as new construction for quite a bit of money. So Bothell is definitely turning and churning. The face of it is changing, and we'll see what it evolves into. But for now, it continues to be very popular, and at least for the interim, somewhat more affordable than it had been. Make sure you watch our next video. This is the one that is best for you right now. This is Emily Cressey. I'm with HomeSmart Real Estate, and my website is HomeProAssociates.com. I'd love for you to come visit me there. Click the button. Let me know if you're thinking about buying or selling, and I'm here to help whatever I can do. Just feel free to reach out. Until then, I'll see you on the next video, and thanks for watching.